Thanks for joining, everybody. We have a really special guest joining us today. The title of this live stream today is The Formula to Getting Your Offer Accepted. And we have joining us today, Carol Houston. She's become a very good friend of ours, a great partner, and she's kind of a big deal out in the Los Angeles. Actually, Carol's a big deal, I think, all over the world, but to us, she's a very big deal. And she's here to join us today to talk about the secret to getting your offer accepted. So with that, let's get started. All right. We're here.
We're here, and it's true. I am a very big deal. I just want to make that really clear. I am such a big deal. I am worldwide.
You are kind of a big deal, Carol.
You made me laugh. You really made me laugh. I was like, she's a big deal everywhere, and I was like, really? Could you tell my husband? Would you just let him know I'm a big deal? Anyway,
well, for sure. Hey, Carol, thanks for joining us. For sure, I could tell you that I refer to myself as kind of a big deal. At least I'm a legend in my own mind, right?
In my own mind, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I am so awesome. I really am.
There are many people that would agree with that, Carol, by the way, just so you know.
Well, Gary, I'm so glad to be here because I just think the world of you guys and the service that the Krevoy team has provided to me and my clients over these years has just been phenomenal. And so it's so fun to get to actually do this with you and, just talk about how we do it. It's really cool. It's really helped my business and my clients so much. So thank you for your kind of like paradigm shift as to how we care for our clients in this, actively wonderful market, right?
Absolutely.
We don't say a crazy market. We say it's an active market,
That's right.
So
that's good. Well, Carol, thank you so much for doing this. You're one of the few people that I do business with where like I actually look forward to it. So, I mean, you would all have that where we get phone calls and we go, okay. And then we have phone calls and go, oh, hey, so I love talking to you. I mean, aside from the real estate side of things, I just think as a human being, you and I have a very much, kindred spirits. And I was lucky enough to meet you because my son, Shane, and partner, who is a rock star, managed to do some business with Savannah, one of your team members, through a friend of his who was using Savannah as his realtor. And we just had a great experience with Savannah. Savannah, obviously had a great experience with Shane because she was kind enough to say to you, you really should talk to this guy, So, I just think that sometimes relationships, when they happen this way, where, like it wasn't planned, it just kind of happens because it's supposed to.
Yeah, it was fun.
Definitely.
Savannah, it was all just, these are the moments that it's like, what a coincidence or odd or God. It was just like one of those, it all clicked together. And I was just so impressed with how Shane had helped the buyers and that you guys really do come from the same place as us, as that it's about communication. It's, really connecting, but it's also about educating people and kind of getting them ready, And so as you educate somebody, as you gain more education, you get stronger and you know what you're talking about. And it's not just information from Google, because you can Google all kinds of stuff and get wrong information, but it's about educating people so they feel confident that what we're going to do and taking them through the process, we talked about this, about, like no more fear. Remove the fear factor and we will serve you and get you into your home. And, it's a high calling. And I think we both feel that. And I also think there's that thing of like, just service as to how you serve somebody. And that we really, when we commit to a client, we really commit,
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's kind of the what we wound up discovering after after doing some deals together was just how aligned both of our business models are, because
Yeah.
Shane and I came to Neo, specifically because of Ryan Grant, who, I used to work with, and he recruited us, and I felt like he had a lot to teach us. And as we got, found out more about his philosophy of doing business, which is, all about, most lenders are transactional. They go in there and they, how much money do you make? How much money do you have to put down? What's your credit score? Okay, here's a pre-approval. Let's get you pre-approved. And then that's kind of it. Whereas we're more about the education portion of this. We feel like buying a home is a very big deal. I know some of us don't think it is, but we bought 4 or 5 or 10 homes or whatever. But for the average person, it's a very big deal. And most people go into it and they kind of have to throw their trust to somebody. And, whether or not that person deserves that amount of trust sometimes is suspect. Sometimes maybe they just met him at an open house and they like their smile. But if you got a really great realtor, and I think sometimes it starts with that, a really great realtor who is truly concerned about, are you making the right decision? Is this the right move for you? It isn't about, you don't interview people, or, you don't do your consultation going, okay, how much money am I going to make off of this? That's completely separate, right? It's more about, how am I going to be able to do the best? How am I going to serve this client the best way that I possibly can? And that starts with education. And then it's just about, just delivering that incredible experience all the way through it. And when we started talking to you about this, it was almost like we were reading a playbook.
It was so in line. I mean, I have to say that your consultation that you do with my buyers. So now I'm at the point where if we're taking on a new client, we immediately send them to you, because we want to know that they go through your consultation, which is about maybe 45 minutes of their time on a Zoom with you guys. And what the information you're giving them is so, it's getting them clarity of what they're at, so that when we come down to it, when we make an offer, a lot of the times we're making an offer with almost, no need for an appraisal or a loan contingency, because you've taken them through such a deep process. We know that they will get a loan, that they will get, that all of these things are going to happen. So in some ways, I'm almost like I'm wary. I truly am wary. If somebody comes in and says, "Oh, here's my pre-approval," I want to go, "Okay, good. Where'd you get that?" And they're kind of like, "Oh, well, we were online and we filled out a thing, and this is the thing they gave us, and we printed it out." And you're like, "Okay, let's get you a real one now." So let's go through that, all the process that you did. Now we're really going to do it. And then they're kind of like, "Oh my gosh, they're asking for all these things." It's like, yeah, we do this ahead of time, because once we go into escrow, you're already partway there, and that's just, and so part of that is just explaining that to somebody. But the other part of it is, then when it's my turn, we find the house that they love, and it's after you've gotten them that far, then I pick them up and take them and show them the house, and we end up saying, this is the one they want. Now we have 10 other people that also want the same house, right? And at that point, we have to go, okay, so this is what we have. We have the Krevoy team, and this is their pre-approval. And I'm trying to sell them to the listing agent as to why the seller should go with them and feel confident about it. One of the great things about you guys is you actually make the call to the seller's agent, the listing agent, and say, this is what we know about these clients. They're ready to go. And that added bonus of another team member making the phone call. But also the fact is, you really do have them almost all the way there, and there isn't going to be a doubt. That also allows us to shorten the contingency period. It also allows us to shorten the escrow period a lot of times. So they are really able to compete with all cash buyers in ways. But also the other part is it's kindness. It's about being easy to work with. And a lot of times people are picking agents like they just meet somebody and they say, well, they seem tough, I like them. But the truth is, you want to pick somebody that's got a reputation for working this stuff out, And no matter what, we're going to work it out. We'll figure it out. We're not going to be hard nosed. We're not going to be, and part of it as a buyer is understanding, it's competitive, but it's not impossible. And as a listing agent, I'm getting buyers that are sometimes saying, well, just forget the whole thing. And they walk away without even trying. So part of it is, do you have faith in the people that are working for you? Or do you have fear? And if you're the kind of person that says, oh, I'm not even going to try, then this is not the right time for you to buy a house.
That's right.
You're willing to say, let's jump in. Let's try this. There's possibilities. I cannot tell you how many times I've had buyers who were literally the second person in line in a backup offer. And the first person started getting too nervous or whatever. And we move into the position and get the house for them. I couldn't have predicted that. But I always just say, hang in there. You don't know where this is going to lead. And sometimes they get it for less money than the first offer, right? We see that all the time.
Yeah.
So,
well, and one of the things that you and I were talking about, which plays into exactly what you're talking about right now, is that, like I mentioned earlier, most people, especially first-time home buyers, like they don't really know what to think. They know they want to buy a house, or at least they think they want to buy a house, but they're being bombarded with everybody's got an opinion, whether it's their coworker, their mother, their father, their crazy uncle. Somebody's got an opinion, and and most of them are wrong, right? Like, so you have to be able to give your clients the education that is based on facts, that are based on real numbers. Because if you can do that, you create trust. And if you create trust, now you have a client that they can sleep at night. Number one, they can confidently listen to their realtor and know that their realtor it knows what they're doing, and they're going to be able to do whatever is necessary, within legally and within reason, to get that offer accepted, right? And then once it's accepted, getting your offer accepted is just one of the first steps. Then it's all about going through the process. So if you spend all the time up front, getting that client prepared, whether it's because we're combing over their financials, or whether it's we're doing a deep dive on their hopes and their dreams and their goals, whether it's being understanding of their timelines, whatever it might be. If you spend all that time at the beginning, that comes through when that offer goes through. Like the client is more willing to do what you're asking them, or what you think needs to be done. And the listing agent is feeling it. They go, wow, this team really knows what they're doing. Now, I'm going to throw this back at you, Carol, because in addition to you being a buyer agent, you're also a listing agent. And I can tell you that one of the things I've often mentioned this in the last year and a half is that, man, with this market that we've had, it's never been clearer a really good agent from somebody who maybe just got started, or maybe it's not working for them. Because you put in an offer on a place. If you're a listing agent, you get in 15, 20 offers, and most of the listing agents I talk to, they go, yeah, it's crazy, like only 4 of those agents even called me. Right. People are just emailing offers, and they're not even calling to ask, like, what is your buyer or what is your seller looking for? Like, what can we do to stand above and beyond? So why don't you talk about like what your process and why? I mean, not all realtors are built the same. It doesn't matter if you got a pretty smile or a great handshake, or if you don't have the actual real world experience and you don't know what it's like to be a listing agent and a buyer agent, you might be missing the boat. So why don't you just kind of touch on that?
Well, a lot of times now the market is, because it's so tight, sometimes you have to send your buyer to open houses on a Sunday afternoon. And if I've got multiple buyers, I'm putting together which houses have open houses and which ones I will show them. But what's happening is, I think a lot of buyers agents are just sending their clients out, and then I get an offer from somebody, and they haven't actually gone to see the house. They haven't even gone to physically say, look, we're going to be writing an offer. I need to come and see the house, which is my first thing. It's like if my buyer says, this is the house, I want to get it. The first thing I do is I'm like, let me go see it. Let me double check. Because if I have my eyes on it, there's, there's all kinds of weird stuff, like years of doing this now, almost 24 years. It's you walk in and go, so do you smell that? And they're like, no, what? And I'm like, it smells like there's moisture somewhere. Let me just, literally weird stuff that because of years of doing it, you're like, what does that smell? I can't figure it out, but let's, and they're like, oh my God, I didn't smell anything. It's like, yeah, so that's going to be something we got to check out. How much do you love this house? Let's double check that. Or, I one time had a buyer that walked in, loved the house, we're writing an offer. And I knew when I walked in, the smell was creosote. Creosote is what they used in old houses in the 30s in LA and in Southern California to coat the beams under the house with a tar that they used on railroad ties that would keep termites away, which was probably a good idea. However, the off-gassing of creosote is a cancer-causing agent, which also makes infertility in like 13 to 14-year-old girls. And you're going to raise your family in this? This is real stuff. So I walked in, was like, oh, yeah, it looks good, smells bad. I don't know. And so I said, before we go forward, you do some research on this. And sure enough, they Googled it and said, we can't buy that house. We have a young daughter. I was like, yeah, this is not your house. So that's part of it, is to also be willing to be the first one to go, great house, not your house. I also have we see a house, it's fantastic, but you know what? I know it's within 500 feet of a freeway and they have a newborn baby. We're not going to buy that house. I won't let them, So part of it is also to become the trusted advisor. You also have to just be honest. But my process of, first of all, go see the house. Go see it as an agent. If your agent isn't willing to write, it's like, we saw this house, I'm going to write an offer, but you haven't even seen it. Do you think it's okay for them and you're representing them? So number one, I go see the house. I make sure it's okay for them. Then I talk to the agent and I say, what is the priceless part? What's the priceless part? We know they want the number one, they want the highest number, but what would be the part in an offer that would be priceless for your seller? Do they need extra time? Do they need time at the end of escrow that maybe they need an extra week? Do they need another month? My clients are renting. They could give the seller an extra month to move out. Would that help them? Or what's the priceless part? Do they not want to buy a home warranty? I'll cover the home warranty. Or the buyers, we'll figure that part out. What's the priceless part? How can we help the seller? And many times it's that the buyer up front, the seller says, well, I know there's a termite problem, and the buyer would absorb that as one of their inspections. So there's all kinds of things. The other part in this market now is, would it help if the buyer paid the seller's transfer tax? Would that be a little boost up? What about the county transfer tax, the city transfer tax? Those can be, depending on the price of the home, that could be quite a large amount of money. But if the buyer says, we'll cover it, sometimes the seller's like, awesome. And those are the little kind of things that over the years as a listing agent, I can tell people this is what you should do. So then as a buyer's agent, I just change hats and go, this might be a little perk we could give them. In addition to that, you say no loan or appraisal contingency, but I will only offer that if you, Barry, have told me that that's okay. I don't do it. That's why you have a team. If you're a buyer with us, the whole team is like, yeah, we can do it. They're good. Go for it. Right.
Right.
And as far as physical inspection contingencies, a lot of buyers are like, well, let's throw that one out and not inspect the house. And I'm like, no. Even as a listing agent, I say to a buyer's agent, if they write no contingencies, I say, no, we're giving you 5 days to inspect this house. I will not sell a house without you inspecting it. It's ridiculous. Unless it's a tear down and you know that you're going to tear it down and it's a developer, then it doesn't matter. But if you're a buyer, owner, user, I insist that you take 5 days and get an inspector who then will tell, and a termite, get a sewer line inspection and a chimney inspection. If you're going to use the chimney, I almost always do. Those are my 4: termite, general inspector, sewer line, and a chimney inspector. And then on top of that, if the general says, you know, there's a roof issue, you might want to get a bid. I have a roofer that I send in with my team. I have a plumber, I have an electrician, and those people are my guys. And so one of the other parts that I do is once we're in escrow and we get the offer accepted and we have our inspection day, we try to schedule all the inspections on the same day so the listing agent and the sellers are not inconvenienced having people in and out of their house. And that day, when we have all the inspectors come, the buyers come, I bring lunch. And I give lunch to all the inspectors, and I give lunch to the buyers and the sellers and the other agent, because in the old days, we would do these big broker opens and give free food out to agents that were just coming by for a sandwich who had no interest in actually buying the house. But
They just wanted to eat lunch, right?
People want lunch. They want food. So I give lunch to my inspectors because they know when I call, they're like, oh, we'll do Carol's. We'll do Carol's because she always brings lunch. And if it's later in the day, I bring, you know, protein bars and coffee. Or in the morning, early in the morning, I bring Danish with coffee. So they know it's going to be a bit of a party. But also what that does is it causes the inspectors to all stand in the kitchen and talk to each other. So the termite guy says to the general, did you see that one beam up in the attic on the right hand? No, wait, what? They literally grab the ladder and they go look together. The sewer line guy will say, yeah, there might be a backup under, you know, the second half of the left side. Really? I didn't see it. So they speak to each other on your behalf as the buyer. You have a whole team of people that are experts that are giving their opinions about whether they think this is the right house for you or not. And that's all of it. Is if you've got a desperate younger agent that's newer at the business, maybe they're not young, maybe they're old and new, but that doesn't have the experience to say, oh, you got to walk away from this if it's not exactly right. Right. So that's part of it. So training my team, it's always about, you know, yeah, okay, so the first thing is we get the offer accepted. We're dating. We're just dating this house. You're not going to have sex with this house. You're not going to jump in bed. You're just going to date them. And then once we get through the inspection, it's like, okay, so now you actually are engaged. You're engaged, but until we get all the other things done, you're not married yet. Don't marry. Don't fall head over heels. And part of that is a personality disorder. If you really do want to just go crazy and jump in bed with the house, it's like, wait. Just take a moment. Let's see. That's really bad that I just said that, right? I'm sorry. Anyway, we're going to just take it one step at a time. And I believe that just, and from the beginning, I say that. It's like, look, don't fall in love too easily, because maybe you felt like you won this house, but if there are any issues, we still need to make sure that the seller is going to be willing to give you a credit back for those things if there's issues that are wrong with the house. The biggest issues I find, Barry, are like water intrusion issues, where they might not have known. Lots of sellers had no idea that there was a tiny leak in the upper bedroom, and inside the wall of the upper bedroom wall is a mold issue. And so we got to deal with this stuff, you know, we just got to deal with it and say, okay, so you've had a mold issue. You've been living with mold. I have great mold inspectors. They actually eradicate it and it's all good. But is the seller going to pay for that, or is the buyer? And in this market, it's not as easy, because the seller can say, well, I'll just have the next guy do it if the buyer's not willing to go forward. And I always say, well, you've got to disclose it to the next buyer. You're still going to need to work out this issue. Why don't we just try to work it out together? Right. And so I think I still have the record of a mold inspection that I was able to negotiate for a buyer. $247,000 of mold in a basement of a beautiful home in Los Feliz. The guys had no idea. And it was a major drainage issue that the water was seeping in underneath. And we got the seller to pay for it. Wow. Put in new drains.
Well, and it can't be overstated just how dangerous that is to my.
Yeah.
In a past life,
they bought the house got fixed, all of it got corrected, and they're living there. They've been there probably 14 years now. Yeah. So that's the other part, is you can fix these things. They're fixable. It's just you got to spend the money, but you know, you got to be willing to kind of work it out.
You know, in a past life, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was cleaning carpets for a living, and we doing flood damages and stuff like that, and mold. And so if you don't know this, whoever's watching this, mold can be deadly, and it can create all kinds of bad things. I had a dear friend of mine that lives out in Los Angeles, actually, who had mold in a place that he was renting and didn't know it. And his kid has been in and out of the hospital for the last 12 years because of this mold problem that was in this house. So that's definitely something you need to watch out for. But I wanted to say something that, kind of bring back around something that you said, Carol, that I think is worth talking about, because in today's market, guys, Carol's been doing this a long time, 24 years. She started when she was 15. And I can tell you that I've been doing this, about 21 years, I think. And, this market is unlike anything we've ever seen. The value of homes is going up so drastically that people are putting in offers, well above the asking. In fact, it's almost a given. If you are able to buy a house at ask in today's market, you got to be living in Timbuktu somewhere, because most houses, as long as they're priced right, they're coming on the market, and then there's 10 offers. And what happens is that you have a home that let's say is $1 million. Say it's on the market for $1 million. And it gets bid up, to $1.1 million or $1.15 million. And, this is where, also you're competing against other offers where they are offering no appraisal contingency. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, to a lot of people, it means that you're paying more for the house than what it's worth. But I would argue with that and tell you that a house is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. In a moving market,
somebody is willing, and what I would say that it's two things: what somebody's willing to pay for it, and what a seller is willing to take for it.
That's right, right? Yeah, but when the appraisal, if the place, let's say, often, when you get the appraisal, even though it was listed at $1 million, that was the offer. That doesn't mean that's what it was worth. I mean, often the information that you're looking at when you're looking online and determining what your offer is going to be is dated information. You're looking at, what a home sold for 3 or 4 months ago. And as fast as the market is moving, a non-experienced agent will go, well, it's listed, it's, the Zestimate is $1 million, and but let's offer $1.05 million or $1.1 million or whatever. And what they're not taking the time to actually look at that property and to make their own determination. Do they think that this home is actually going to appraise for what you're offering? Sometimes you have to offer more than what you think it's going to appraise for to be able to win the listing if you really love the house. But to Carol's point, she's going in there and she's doing her due diligence before she's, before we're asked to give a pre-approval letter on a property. Carol's already gone in there and dissected the comps and figured out what she thinks. Forget about what the house is listed for. She wants to know what she thinks the house is worth. Now, the backup plan to that is that we as a team, meaning the Krevoy team, she knows that we have a strategy called a gap appraisal strategy, where if a client is coming in with a certain amount of money, I mean, if they're coming in with a minimum, if it's a jumbo loan and they're coming in with 20% down, we have the ability to be able to get in there without the client having to come in with more money, even if the appraisal comes in a little lower, and still make the deal happen and make it to where it's not costing the client more a month than what they thought it was going to. And if it is, we're talking minuscule. But we also have the ability that, if they're coming in, let's say with 10% down and it's a high balance loan, that we can still make that deal work without the client having to come in with a bunch more money. And Carol has actually seen this firsthand. We had a client a couple months ago that we closed on. And, you know, the appraisal came in lower than what we thought it was. But to Carol's credit, she did her own research. She came back with a rebuttal. We sent that to the appraisal company. They agreed to raise the value. It still wasn't as much as what the client purchased it for, but we implemented this appraisal gap strategy. The client did not have to come in with more money. She got the house. And if you Google her house right now, you will see it is valued at exactly what she paid for it. So my point bringing all of this around is that it doesn't necessarily, a house is not worth what somebody is offering it for. A house is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it and what the seller's willing to sell it for. And what's ironic about all of this is that the moment that you close, that becomes the new comp for the area. So it becomes worth what you paid for it, right? So go ahead and chat about that for a minute, Carol.
Well, I think that's one of the coolest things that you guys, I think, do in this market. That's just so outside the paradigm of what all the other lenders are doing, which gives an opportunity for a buyer to it's this appraisal gap strategy. We were able to get, I remember that appraisal came in, I think it was like 75,000 under, and we were able to rebut it to maybe 25,000 under, because they were not considering certain comps that they missed. And that's the other thing is these appraisals, God bless them, the appraiser is exhausted. They're trying to do this. They're having to get these reports out. And part of the problem with the market right now is things are selling so high above that those comps aren't even in yet. And a lot of the stuff is pending, but hasn't closed yet. So an appraiser, I'm like, well, this one around the corner is about to close, but it hasn't closed yet. And so the appraiser can't use that comp to justify the price of yours. Even if the house around the corner is selling for 200,000 over, they can't count it until it closes. So you're kind of stuck in this area that you guys have kind of found an answer to, that gap strategy. I can't even tell you what a difference that makes for all buyers that need to get a loan. That the biggest fear is if the appraiser doesn't come in, I always just say, it's okay. We're going to figure it out. We're going to make it work. So that gap strategy of it's a whole process that you guys do that allows the buyer a one-time ability to basically bridge it, the difference in if it's $100,000, a lot of times you guys are working it out that their payment goes up maybe $10 a month over the life of the loan or something.
Every scenario is a little bit different, but
or sometimes it doesn't go up at all. Sometimes it stays the same, or sometimes it's really crazy. But in this particular case, I was so excited because when the appraisal came in low and I talked to Shane, and Shane's like, it's okay. We got this. It's not going to be a problem because we have our plan B, appraisal gap strategy. And it just worked out so beautifully. And right now, you're exactly right. Her house is worth probably more than she paid for it because that comp around the corner did finally close. So she's already got equity, within about 2 months of buying her home.
That's right.
And that's an amazing thing. I mean, that service we can provide just makes buyers so much more confident. So I so appreciate that.
And that's what I was going to kind of bringing this full circle around to, which I think that I really got out of our conversation when we were kind of talking about doing this, is that, what the best situation that we could be in as a team, meaning the Carol Houston and the Krevoy team, is to have a buyer that is empowered and that feels confident about the decisions that they're making.
Yes.
And the only way to do that is you have to build trust. You have to, you can't just telling somebody, hey, I've got this great appraisal gap strategy that you don't need to worry about that. We can do this. It doesn't build that confidence and empower them unless you actually show them and explain it to them. And we've had so many transactions that we can draw on to show these different scenarios to a client when they walk into actually putting an offer on the home. It's it's just so much easier for everybody to deal with a client who is empowered and that trusts us, trust Carol. They trust us. They trust Savannah. They trust Sarah. They trust Val. They trust Ariel. They trust Hannah. Like we go way above and beyond to make sure that they understand that our two teams are a team. We work together all the time, and we have 100% confidence in all of our abilities. And while we're on that subject, I just want to say, love your team. I was so happy when I got to meet. Really? I mean, so it just feels like, you know, everybody just so warm and friendly and fuzzy. You know, every once in a while you meet somebody and you go, I kind of like everybody except for that guy. I genuinely love your team. They're just such nice people. And I can tell you that my team adores all of you guys. Like when we see a deal come in, for we know that we're going to do a deal with you guys, you know, it's happy days, because we know that it's going to be a great transaction, and that, you know, that we all get along really well with each other. And man, life is just too short to do business with people that you don't like. And that was,
oh my gosh. I mean, that's the other thing, you know, you guys are just, and the other, I just love how responsive you are. I mean, you know, just that one of the things that early on, I remember this when Savannah did her very first deal with Shane. And Shane kept giving, you know, like every other day we'd get an update. And I got an update, and I remember the listing agent calling and saying, so who is this lender? Because they're so communicative. We just love them. And they're so on it. And I was like, I mean, that's the deal in this market. It takes extra time, but it's so important to stay in communication, because this is it. It's the biggest purchase of your life. You want to know that somebody's going to be saying, hey, I was thinking about you. Just want to let you know, here's where we're at. This is what we've done today. And to keep walking you through it, but to stay in communication. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I'm the listing agent and I'm waiting to just have some kind of communication with the buyer's lender. And so I've gotten in the habit now, when I take a listing, of absolutely asking buyers to, if they're getting a loan, to double app with you guys. Because I know that if you guys cover and look at all of their numbers and everything else, I can feel confident as to whether they're the person we should pick to buy the house. And a lot of times they'll switch over to you guys because they're so happy with your service. So I really do love that the more we kind of just show up and be of service to our clients in a way that's deep, you know, and then they become our friends and they become our people. And, you know, that's the part I always think of, is like, you know, if I just love and adore this person, I want them in my life forever. And they know 100 more people. And so if this is going to be a great experience for them, they're going to tell their friends. If it's a horrible experience, they're going to tell their friends. And that closes a door. And so my reputation and who I am and how I serve people is fundamentally how my business continues to grow. And my whole team is absolutely about that we want to continue to grow each family that we connect with has family and has friends. And we want to continue to put that service out there, that this experience of buying a home can be an adventure. It can be exciting, but it's also about moving you into your future and what you will then accomplish in your life, because you've been grounded and found your place to call home that will comfort you and fill your life, you know, because that's where we come from. If we come from that place, it's about love. That sounds funny, but it is. I just feel deep love for people, that we just love our people and we want to bring them to their highest good. And that to me is such a huge calling. I feel like that is my purpose in life now. And it makes me so happy, you know, and I want to train other people on my team to come up and do it too, you know?
Sure.
That's why we're doing so well, Barry.
I think anybody who talks to you for any length of time, Carol, knows, you know, that this is all sincere. Like, I can tell you guys who are watching this right now, she is as advertised. I mean, sometimes you talk to people it's so funny because, there's been times in my life where I, went to go buy a house and it's like, everybody's like, oh, hey, how's it going? As soon as you go, just want to let you know, I've got an age. They go, oh, okay. And then they walk away and it's like, who was that person I just talked to 10 seconds ago? Because they disappeared somewhere. I mean, Carol is as advertised. Her whole team is like, there is no, nobody's putting on an act to try and get you to like them. That's just the way that they are, and I can tell you that's one of the things I love and appreciate about you guys, Carol. Life is too short for phonies, and especially in this business, man. This is a big deal to most people. This is where they're going to raise their kids. This is where they're going to, retire in. This is where the bulk of their retirement is going to come from. They need to be, stuck with, or not stuck. They need to have a team that is as serious and sincere about their best interest as they are. So, bravo to you. And what I would say also is that how would somebody get started with you, Carol? Like, what is the best way for them to contact you? I'm sure it's a phone call's proper, an email's proper. Are you somebody who responds really well to email or text?
I do. I respond to email. I respond to text. I respond to, sky drawings. I'll, you put it out there, I will connect.
Ravens.
Yeah. Yeah, I connect. I just, I'm on, this is my office, and she's just so, she's so good. And I feel like I when you connect to me and just say, hey, I need your help, we're on it, And so the first thing I would do is just try to have a buyer consultation with you if you're a buyer, to talk to you about what you need to do. I kind of do the same thing Barry does, but Barry goes in a deeper dive, right? I first just find out, where do you want to live? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And a lot of times I'm, like if I'm selling somebody's house, I walk in and look at their house and kind of talk them through it. And my first thing always is, okay, we can sell your house. We can do that like this. My question is, where do you want to go? What do you want to be? What do you want to do next? Because I always want to know where you're going to land before I sell your house, because I'm going to sell it and I'm going to make you a lot of money. But we need to know where you want to land. What do you see? Is it that you want to get a better school district? Is it that you want to be near a walking area so that you can walk to pick up things at the end of the day? Do you want to be far away? You're tired of the noise and the hustle and bustle of the city, or do you want to be right in the center of the city? You've been far away, and now you want to be where the action is. I mean, all of these things are possibilities, and especially in Los Angeles, we can take you anywhere. I mean, and that's the other thing about our team is we don't just work a geographic area. We really work all the way up to Santa Barbara. We take you out way past Pasadena, Sierra Madre, Arcadia. We just sold in San Bernardino. We go south. We'll take you way south, and we'll go way west. We'll go, to Malibu. We'll take you to the Palisades to find you a home. And you don't, in the old days, it used to be you'd have to go with the neighborhood expert, because the only way you could be a neighborhood expert was with these huge MLS books that you'd look through, and there was no thing called Google or Redfin or Zillow or any of the Google machine was not invented yet when I started. And you had to really search through these books at the pictures, and the pictures half the time were black and white and disgusting. And you're like, oh, I don't know. But now, because of just information, we can search all kinds of areas, and we can look at the comps, and we can go discover what it is we need to discover for you. And we have different team members that are in different parts of LA so that they're becoming experts in their areas, but we can take you anywhere. That's the first thing. So I have a lot of clients that live in the Palisades that now want to go to Pasadena because they want to be in Old Town Pasadena because there's a school there for their kids. Or they just got a job and they've been up in the valley and now they need to go down and be near 20th Century Fox because they're a writer on a new TV show. So there's all kinds of reasons why people are moving. Or the one that's happened in the past 2 years, Barry, you know this one, is I live in a huge open floor plan and I'm now going to be working from home and I can't stand my family. I need an office. Loud. Right? You're like, we accept you. We love you anyway. I know you can't stand your family. My wife's working from home and I'm working from home. It's like, we will work this out for you.
Yeah.
So now we're looking for double offices in a home for people, you know, needs change. You might lived in your house for 2 years, but in the past 2 years, things have really shifted. You're no longer going to need to go into your office. You don't have to make the drive, you know.
If you can't relate to that, you must not be married. That's all.
Oh my gosh. I love my husband, but you know, there's times when it's like we really, I talk to him on the phone and I drive him crazy. And you know, if he needs quiet, I mean, so we work these things out. And I become part of that is when I had a friend that was a realtor that became a therapist. And I was like, well, I get why you did it, but we kind of already do that now. And we make more money doing this and really helping people. We're on a level that's kind of more honest even than therapy. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's deep. It's heavy, deep, and real because it's about your money, which is like, right?
Oh, yeah. Carol, I'm not kidding you. I've had clients literally like call me up screaming at each other and wanted me to intermediate and talk to each. I mean, it's a trip, you know.
Oh, it's a trip. It's a trip. Or, I mean, we've had, you know, I've said to people, okay, this feels like you're getting heated as we're walking through this home. She loves the home. You don't like it that much. However, who's going to be in the home most?
Right.
And I always say, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So we got to make sure mama's happy. If she's going to be the one home all the time, if he's going to be the one home all the time, then, you know, it's like we have to learn. And
still mama has to be happy, even if he's going to be home all the time. That's
it. It's like you've got to figure out everybody's needs.
Yeah.
And it also, this process brings up it just brings up the issues in people's relationships that we help them work it out. And that's the deeper level of this, that it's, you know, it's like looking at our own stuff and honestly, also, I think having a sense of humor about it. Like, oh yeah, you think you're a shit show. Guess what? You're not the only shit show. I'm one, you're one. We all got our stuff going on. And we're here to kind of clear the way that you can make the way through it and come to a place of love and connection. And there's many times I'm years later after I sold a house where, you know, the husband was like, I don't think so. And the wife was like, honey, please, I love this house. And I kind of was like, are you sure you want to do this? And years later, the husband's like, oh my God, Carol, I'm so sorry. I was such an ass. It was me at the time. I was nervous. I was afraid. And the truth is, you were right. I'm so glad we got this house. I didn't see it. Nice. And those are the times it's like, if you're really honest and truthful with people, sometimes you can really step in and intervene and help them. And it's a high calling in that way. And there's also times when I'm like, I'm not going to step in here. You guys have to decide if this is right for you. You got to decide, you know?
One of the things I would like to say before we start wrapping it up is the other thing I've learned about Carol that I really greatly admire, and I think that more realtors could learn from, is Carol is a networking maniac. I mean, she has a reach in many different states with other realtors. She is always looking for another great realtor to, you know, connect with that she could potentially send business to. And vice versa. Carol often gets referrals from, you know, other realtors in different states that have clients that are moving into, you know, the Los Angeles area, and they just know how awesome she is. So if you are a realtor and you don't have somebody like Carol in your life, I highly suggest that you reach out to her. because she I mean, if for nothing else, just to be her friend. But
I would love that. I would love it.
Right? But she will find a way, at some point. It may not be next week. It may not be next month. It may not be exactly next year. But Carol has a wide reach. And that's kind of why I joked around at the beginning that Carol is kind of a big deal all around, a lot of people know who Carol is. And it's because she is just such a, she has this ability to be able to step outside of what's in it for me and just try and, like whenever she meets somebody, she has this kind of thing like, okay, well, how can I help this person? Like what, let me get to know this person a little bit because I might be able to help them at some point, So I just love that about you. And I encourage, if you're looking to buy a home or list a home in Los Angeles or gosh, anywhere in the Southern California area, I cannot encourage you enough to reach out to Carol. But also, if you're looking to buy a home somewhere else and you just want somebody awesome like Carol to hook you up with another agent that is awesome, she has a reach like that. So, I didn't want this live stream to go beyond without me saying that about you. I really appreciate that about you.
It's very true. I mean, I started realizing some years ago that when I had people that needed to move somewhere else, I wanted them to be cared for like I would care for them. And so I started reaching out to people to try to find out who the like-minded realtors in the state of Washington or like-minded realtors in Oregon or in Illinois or in on the East Coast, people I had moved to North Carolina. I've got friends in Florida that help people. So part of it is in my years of doing this, I've continued to train. And so one of the things I have is I have trained in ninja selling, which if you've ever heard of it, it sounds really funny, but it's a way of selling and working with people that's really about for their highest good of whatever that is. And that you come from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. So if I'm coming from abundance, I am not going to be in any way, shape, or form pushy or trying to make you or trying to manipulate or control you because you are not my higher power. And your deal of whether you buy this house or not is not going to make or break my life, right? That I know where the money comes from and that I'm going to be taken care of so I can take care of you. And if this isn't right, we let it go, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm in a group of, it's called a mastery group in Ninja that there's probably 50 of us all over the country that we meet twice a month. And we talk about our goals and what we're doing and how we're supporting one another. But I hear about their markets. They hear about mine. I hear about their strategies of things they're doing. A friend of mine just told me of a house in her area that she just sold for $1 million over the asking price up in Seattle. I mean, when I heard that, I was like, I thought we were going over, by 350 or 400,000. I mean, $1 million over the asking price. And we all just scratched our heads. And part of it is if you've been doing it a long time, you start to just go, it keeps us current with each other for the whole country. Mm-hmm. And we're all in different price ranges. I mean, some people are selling $50 million houses. Some people are selling $450,000 houses in Boise, Idaho, right? But we hear about it and that connects us. And so I have my foot in my market here, but I also kind of have a wider reach. And you're right. And I love that no matter where you go on the planet, I will find you someone like me that will hold your hand and show you the way wherever you decide to land. So it's good. And also the other part that's good is Barry can also help you with a loan wherever you go in the United States of America, which not every lender can do that. But he has the ability to still get you a loan if you have to move to South Carolina or if you have to move to Arizona. So I do love that about you, Barry. Thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I'm just so appreciative that you did this with me, Carol. And thank you so much for all the kind words that you said about myself and Shane and Ariel and Hannah. for those of you watching this, I did not give her money to say all of that stuff. This was
No.
all, this was, if you couldn't figure it out, this was all very heartfelt. And
Yeah.
I would just end with being heartfelt and telling you, I'm so excited, just to continue our friendship and just to watch each other grow and to be a part of each other's lives. And I know I can speak, if the rest of my team, I know they're watching this right now, if the rest of my team could chime in, they would be saying the same thing. We're so thankful for you, and we can't wait to see the future, Carol. So
I sure love you guys at Krevoy Team. You guys have just upped my business to a place of it feels so good. It feels so good to work with you guys. And I'm so grateful. I'm really, really grateful for you. And I know Savannah and Sarah and Val, we adore you guys. So yeah, we always want to be a win-win for everybody. Big hug, group hug, group hug.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for all watching this. Carol, thank you so much. We've had Carol's information scrolling down on the bottom here. Feel free to comment on here. If there's any questions that you have, this is being live streamed on Facebook, and I think we're on LinkedIn, and we're going to be placing we're going to rebroadcast this on a few different platforms. If you just want to ask a couple questions, but you're not ready to get pre-approved yet, I can speak for both Carol and I. We want to help you when you're ready to be helped. Even if that means just answering some questions right now, we feel, that if we give our time, if we invest our time into being a reliable source of information for you now, when you are ready, there's a really good chance that we'll earn your business. So don't hesitate to comment down below. As Carol said, send smoke signals if you need to. But there's lots of ways to contact us. Carol, thanks again. Is there anything you want to say before we?
Well, I just want to piggyback on what you just said. Is that both of us are in the long game. We're in the long game with our clients. That if you aren't ready to buy right now, but you have a dream of it, Barry can walk you through that and begin that process. Maybe you have a credit issue. Maybe you're still paying off school loan debt, whatever. Barry can walk you. Barry and Shane are amazing at that. And sometimes I work with people 3-4 years before we actually go to look at houses. So the long game is where it's at, and that the service of that, it's so cool to get to finally do that with people. It's really neat.
Yes, it is. Well, thanks again. And folks, this is Friday, the 3rd.
Yep. December 3rd.
Yeah, we hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. But most importantly, even though you may be watching this after this month of December, but it is the month of December. Happy holidays to everybody. Please stay safe. Continue to have empathy and sympathy and care about your neighbor. And feel free to reach out to us if you need anything. Okay. Happy holidays, everybody. Thanks again, Carol.
Thank you, Barry. Love you. Love your team. Happy holidays to you and to everybody watching. Just we'd love to help you if we can.
Absolutely.
All right.
Ciao.